It's great to see you, Leader Jeffries. You've had quite a 48 hours, I will say. We are less than 3 hours away from this shutdown. And I just want to start by asking you, I mean, you said today we're in this fight until we win. I think a lot of people are happy to hear that. Tell us more about what that looks like. How does this end for people?
Well, we're here in the Capitol, and as Leader Schumer has said, as I've repeatedly said, as House Democrats continue to say, you know, we're ready, we're willing, we're able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, to arrive at a bipartisan spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people, avoids a shutdown, and keeps the government open. But at the same period of time, what we also have made clear is that we're not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people in the midst of a Republican health care crisis that is devastating to people all across the country. Republicans, as you pointed out, control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They have the ability to fund the government, but to the extent that they're interested in Democratic support, then of course we want to make sure, as part of a bipartisan process, that we are looking out for the American people in rural America, in urban America, in small town America, in the heartland of America, and in black and brown communities all across America, collectively, all of whom have been devastated in different ways by the ongoing Republican assault on health care.
I just played a clip, and I think everybody watching knows you and Leader Schumer went to the White House yesterday. I played a clip of that, but I want to play something that Trump said today, because I think it's important to show people how difficult this is. So let's just play that. We'll talk about it afterwards.
A lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things.
I mean, I suppose he sometimes says the quiet part out loud, but it seems to see, he says there a lot of good things can come from shutdowns. What do you think he means by that, and what are you preparing for him to do during this shutdown?
Well, it's such a shocking statement that he would make, because he's the president of the United States of America. Yeah. And we shouldn't look at the consequences of a shutdown as impacting Democrats or impacting Republicans. It impacts Americans. Food safety, of course, will be impacted. Airline and aviation safety impacted. That affects everyone. And millions of older Americans who have come to rely on telemedicine won't have the ability to access that level of medical care. That impacts everyone. And this is on top of the consequences of the one big ugly bill, which included the largest assault, the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. And in this bill, they stole food from the mouths of hungry children, families, seniors, and veterans, Democrats and Republicans alike. And all of that was done so they could reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. And they basically want to continue this scheme, but they want to do it with Democratic support. And that, of course, is a bridge way too far. That's not going to happen. So we're urging reasonable Republicans to come to the table. I'll be at the Capitol all night. Let's have a conversation about finding a common sense path forward to meet the needs of all Americans, as opposed to continuing to devastate everyday Americans.
So it seemed to, I mean, part of the challenge here for you, or you tell me, seems to be Trump is controlling a huge swath of the caucus, including the Speaker of the House, who seems to do whatever he wants. You're saying, hey, Republicans, come meet with me. I'm happy to talk to you about a path forward here. You said you want a bipartisan deal. Is Trump, do you go meet with him if he wants to meet again? Or what does it look like tomorrow? How do you move forward?
Well, in the White House meeting yesterday, I certainly made clear, and so did Leader Schumer, that we demanded the meeting with Donald Trump because at the end of the day, Republicans no longer function in the Congress as a separate and co-equal branch of government. And the reality is, when Donald Trump says jump, the Republicans say how high. And they've served as nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda throughout the year. So the reality is, Donald Trump's going to shut the government down. Republicans are going to acquiesce to that, which is why House Republicans aren't even in town, if you can believe it. House Democrats are here on duty. Republicans remain on vacation. And so this is going to have to come down to, eventually, the Trump administration recognizing that their own shutdown is going to be a consequence that will hurt them with the American people, who are smart enough to know it's being caused by Donald Trump and the Republicans, come to the table so we can work something out that also includes protecting the health care of the American people.
Do you think Trump even wants the government to reopen?
Well, that remains to be seen. We'll certainly begin to find that out after midnight. We also know that since January 20th, Donald Trump has been waging war against the federal government, against hardworking federal employees and civil servants, and decimating parts of the government, which impacts the ability to provide necessary services to everyday Americans. And that's been happening over the last several months, pretty much from the beginning of his administration, which is why I think many people have reasonably come to believe that from the very beginning of this process, Donald Trump and Republicans have been determined to try to shut the government down. But the American people are going to rise up and not tolerate it. This has happened in the past. We know that during the 14-day government shutdown that was caused by Republicans in October of 2013, eventually their will broke because the American people said enough. And when Donald Trump was in office in 2018 into 2019, that was the longest government shutdown in American history, 35 days. And eventually, the Republicans engaged in an unconditional surrender because they could not sustain the pressure from the American people. It's my expectation that if we find ourselves in a shutdown, the same exact thing will happen again.
We've been through, you've been through, I've been through a lot of shutdowns and negotiations. Often they're on the level, as my mother would say. This does not appear to be, in part because Trump is continuing to post racist and bizarre AI videos. There was one of you and Leader Schumer last night. I'm not going to play that. But just in the last hour, he posted another one of you. Today you said, which is a pretty strong comeback, the next time you have something to say about me, don't cop out through a racist and fake AI video. When I'm back in the Oval Office, say it to my face. It's the pushing back that I think is very powerful in this moment. I got to ask, I mean, when you're back in the Oval Office, you may be. What are you going to say to his face about all this?
Well, I'm certainly going to make it clear that we need from the President of the United States an individual who actually is focused on doing his job, as opposed to engaging in racist or bigoted stereotypes designed to try to distract or throw us off as Democrats from what we need to do on behalf of the American people. And it ain't going to happen. And we're not going to be intimidated by this guy or by the Republicans, who currently are divorced from the reality of the situation, that as Democrats, we don't work for Donald Trump. We don't work for Vice President Vance. We don't work for their billionaire donors. We work for the American people. That's why we've drawn this line in the sand, and our view will continue to be cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, I'll just repeat before I let you go, this is about Republicans being unwilling to fund subsidies that help millions of people stay on health care. That is what the holdup is. I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Coming up right now, we have U.S. military in the streets of American cities, masked agents